Hello my friends, thank you so much for tuning in today, and in this video we're going to change some things about the application of makeup. I tend to have a certain routine that I follow day to day, and I know many of you do as well, but that routine was challenged recently when I saw a video from a girl, her name's Shelby Ann. She is a makeup artist. She's on TikTok actually, and she says she'll get asked things like, why doesn't my makeup look like yours, or why won't it last? And her response is, you're not wearing enough makeup. And I've taken notes, my friends, and you might say, well, Em, you seem to wear a lot of makeup. I would argue that I apply a lot of different products in my routine, like my list is long, but I don't necessarily apply a lot of each thing. What about blush, Em? Yeah, I do. I put on a lot of blush, okay, but like foundation, concealer. What I'm noticing with her routine is she's putting on a large amount of the coverage steps, and then she's got an overall layering concept with the cream and powder. So like all the cream stuff goes on, and then she follows it up with every step seemingly getting set with something. I've tested this out a time or two already, but today I want to keep a really close eye on it, so I'm setting my reminders to do check-ins later. So we'll do 9, 12, we'll do 3, and we'll do 6. So my skin is fully prepped at this point, and we're going to go in with foundation. For foundation, she says she uses about 2.5 pumps. I very religiously use pretty much just 1 pump of foundation, and this is probably the step that really gets me. It makes me question her theory, because at least for my skin type, normal, maybe starting to verge a little bit on dry this time of year, for me, I can use like 1 pump of Rimmel Lasting Finish and be thrilled with the way that wears all day. Just name off other traditionally long-wearing foundations, like I'm not using that much of them. But then I thought, what about this one? Sometimes you're swiping that on and it could be more than a full pump that you put on, and you do always claim that you have really good staying power with it. But for foundation, and I took notes on the products she was using, and when possible I'll use the same ones in this video and see how they all do on my 40-year-old skin. But I think she's done a high-end version of this and she's done a drugstore version. But L'Oreal True Match, like that's not a traditionally really hardcore staying power foundation. Also not a really great coverage foundation either. So maybe that's one where it does benefit from a lot more product on the skin. But I would love to hear her comment about things that claim longer wear, and do you still feel like you have to use that much of those products? I do have L'Oreal True Match, just the regular, but the shade is so far off for me. It may even be too light for me on my palest day in the middle of February. But I've got my True Match Hyaluronic Tinted Serum, and that's what I'm going to use today. So I'm going to pump out 1 full pump, 2 full pumps, and a half a pump. That's so much makeup. She says she's taken some backlash for it, but she's also gotten some really positive feedback as well, with people saying, hey, now my makeup lasts all day. I just want to hear more comments about skin type and product type, because I just don't think every product is gonna succeed in large amounts, you know, but maybe some might, or some are because you got real oily skin, maybe your skin done like ate up a good portion of it. Oh my god, I still have more on my finger. It's a lot. And yes, the pump on that product is from Amazon. It usually comes with a dropper. Oh, I pretty much got it all swiped off my fingers. And another thing that kind of fascinates me about this, and by the way, I think she's thought this through quite a bit, and I think she's beautiful and she does a really good job with her makeup. But another thing that's fascinating is she's using a lot of product. She's also not bringing in a sponge, which the sponge could take a little bit, you know, could absorb some. Brushes, not as much. Okay, this is the True Match Nude Hyaluronic Tinted Serum, shade 2-3 Light for me. Getting it all blended in. Normally I wear 1 full pump. I have doubled that with an extra half pump on top of it. We're gonna see, we're gonna check and see, does this wear amazingly well all day? I already thought it was wearing pretty well with 1 pump, but maybe we'll be on another level with it. This is a foundation that has a slightly luminous finish, and I actually feel like with more product applied, I'm seeing more of that luminosity out of it. That's showing up more than it does when you only use 1 pump. And it's really looking pretty much full coverage. I mean, does any foundation become full coverage when you use this much of it? I feel full coverage, and I wouldn't normally say that about this product. I need coffee. For concealer, she used a ColourPop concealer, and I screenshotted the amount she put on so I wouldn't forget. This is the amount she's wearing. It's not crazy, but it's definitely more than my norm. I'm gonna do my Colorstay Flex Wear. I'm really familiar with what this looks like with just my minimal amount applied, so I'll be able to pretty accurately, I think, see the difference if I can tell one today. It's in the shade Vanilla. Again, it's the new Flex Wear Concealer. We're gonna start, that's where I'd usually go with it, that and like that, and maybe that. We're doing more out here. We're doing more down in here. She's pretty much got it going down the nose and swept out to the side. Oh my gosh, this feels like so much. I do not want to seem critical. It's just shocking my system a little bit. I'm happy to try a different way of doing things. Maybe down in here. I sometimes get a little red right here, so I'll add. I don't think I've ever used my concealer to the point where now it feels totally cleaned off. I love this one from the set that I got when I reviewed the viral brush set. It's got 2 ends, and I'm going to use the smaller, it's like a soft angled end. And we're going to spread. I mean, there's so much on that it practically feels like I'm doing another foundation or something. Shelby talks about doing a lot of bridal work, and staying power is super important, you know, especially warm climates. You got to come up with some kind of tactic that works, you know. And I think when people were saying, does this work on everybody? Does this work on more mature skin or whatever? She did respond with some pictures of people who were a little more mature that she'd done makeup on for bridal stuff. And they looked real good. Gotta say, they looked fantastic. So this is all blending out. I am just full coverage as can be. There's no hope of any dark circle coming through this, and I like that look. I'm just making sure it all gets really well pressed into the skin. She does stress blending well. It's a lot of makeup, so you do kind of have to take a little extra time, I think, to ensure that it actually is as one with the skin as you can make it. And I just kind of flip back and forth between these sides. I love this brush for concealer, and it's not one that you can just, as far as I know, go out and grab on its own. It's part of that set, and I'll link below to the video where I gave you all the details on this viral brush set. Tons of brushes, actually really good brushes. Okay. There we are, foundation and concealer done. Now, here's where I'd normally go in and I'd start setting it. We're not gonna do that yet. We're gonna go in with cream contour. Aside from just amount of product being part of the strategy, her other part of the strategy is layering. Layering cream steps, then powder steps. So she used a Milani cream contour. I'm gonna grab mine out. And I don't think it has to be these exact products. I'm just trying to go along with what she did when I can. So this I have in the shade Spicy Season. It's the Cheek Kiss cream contour. And going in, and she just kind of roughly dabbed around and then blended. Another thing I forgot, when she was doing foundation, she put it off on her hand and then dabbed and then went to the face. The hand could have absorbed some. I forgot that that was the way she did that. A little bit down here. I felt like when it came to these face color steps, she really wasn't applying like that much product. I think what makes this seem like a lot is the fact that she's gonna layer over with additional powder steps. But I can't say I blame her for that. If this was special occasion makeup and you're thinking, I want this to last all day, the layering of cream and powder is a legit strategy, you know? This blends really well. I like this. Just pressing over. She mentions, you know, how you're not doing a big sweeping motion to blend in, but you're pressing in. Thank you guys for the good response to things that I've done where I'm responding to something on TikTok, because I actually hear from quite a few of you who say you don't watch TikTok, but you appreciate me bringing you the things you might need to know. So yeah. This is kind of what's going around at the moment. At least what's making it onto my feed is Shelby Ann either sharing her wear a lot of makeup tips or defending her wear a lot of makeup tips. Just blending what I put down there, just a very small amount on the jawline. You don't want to overdo it down there. Okay, I feel blended there, and I don't feel like I've really interfered with the fairly thick layer of foundation and concealer that we've got going. Next up, she did a liquid blush. She did e.l.f. This shade looks really similar. This is from Wet n Wild, and it's called Rosy Romance. She didn't do that much of it, you know, maybe a couple dots. No big whoop. And then we're gonna blend that. It's just my other Sephora 56. I may find that I have an even easier time blending creams and liquids because I haven't already gone and set the under eye or the face as a whole, you know? There's that. I think I could do even more though. This is where I challenge the system. More on the blush. I do like these. They claim to be a lip and a cheek. Now is the time that she goes in with a setting powder. She referred to it as baking. I went in and I watched another version of this concept from her with the high-end stuff because I couldn't quite tell what was going on. It seemed to me like she was fully pressing the product in with the initial application. But in another video I heard her say she leaves a little extra that can be dusted away later. But she applies the powder in this area and down in here as well, probably around the nose too. And she mentions to check for creasing beforehand, like any creasing that might be happening in your under eye area. I'm actually not seeing much, if any, of that, but you can do that with your finger. You could do that with a little Q-tip and blot and make sure you don't have any excess collecting. She used an e.l.f. powder. I'm going to use my e.l.f. powder too. This is the Halo Glow setting powder. And yeah, it just has the look of quite a bit of powder. Take my little pinky puff. I'm going to go into what I've tapped out. This is the light pink shade, by the way. And I'm going to dab it on. And as I watched her do this, again, it looked like it was getting fully pressed. My normal tendency would be to put some on, like about this amount, and then dust away. But it looked like she pressed in, and then in another video it seemed like there was even a little excess that she could also dust away later. So first I'm going to make it look like it's all pressed in. Dabbing, dabbing. I was already looking really full coverage here, but now I'm looking more like doll skin. Although I will say if I look really close, there's a lot of foundation, there's a lot of concealer. I'm seeing a little more texture right under my eye than I normally would at this stage of the makeup game. That being said, it's well covered, but you know, I'm gonna put some powder down in here. I need to tap out more. I used every bit of what I put out there. Tap out more. I wanna hit this zone. Pressing and patting. And I'm gonna get my chin too. Hi, kitten. Hitting this area and making that jawline area pop a bit, I guess. I'm gonna put it there. I'm gonna pat. She didn't look like she had a lot of excess down there, so I'm just gonna press that in. And then add a little more up here on the under eye to where, like she said, there was some excess. And then she goes on at this point and does brows, does eyes, and then she said she presses the excess powder in. So that's how we know there was some additional there, even though maybe on camera it didn't look like there was a lot of extra hanging around. There's a little extra. It's also on my pants. So I'm gonna stop here. I'm gonna go ahead and do my brows and eyes real quick. And since this is such a face-focused video, we're gonna keep it that way. And I'll be right back to finish all this because we've got layering to do on everything. Alrighty guys, I just did my brows and my eyes. That's the only thing that's happened since I was last here. This is the Gwen Stefani brand. It's just a skinny pencil. My shade is, it's called Hella On Point Ultra Fine Brow Pencil. Shade is 4. I use the L'Oreal brow lamination on top of that. I put on Milani eyeshadow primer, and then I was sent this in the mail from Urban Decay. Isn't this cute? I hadn't even heard of this. The Moon Dust Space Cowboy eyeshadow palette. So Space Cowboy is like an iconic color from Urban Decay, and they're giving you Space Cowboy Rides Again in the middle, and then all these shades and these mattes over here that kind of help the look happen, you know? So I put this in the crease, this in the outer corner, this under the brow, some of this on the inner lid just lightly. It's kind of a, you know, sheer glaze wet look sort of eyeshadow. And then I went kind of middle of the lid with that one. I went across my lash line with a gentle wing with the dark brown liquid liner. That's the one from Lawless. And then another little PR thing that I got from Hard Candy. They've got a lash primer and a mascara. So I tried both of those out. I feel like I got some pretty good length today. Oh, I did use a little bit of the darkest shadow in here to blend up under my wing, but otherwise I'm kind of leaving that alone because at this point she says she presses the extra powder in. So I've now got my powder puff and I'm back at it, and I'm getting really close to my under eye. That is actually something I do really lightly. If I have any lower lash line makeup whatsoever, I'll take like this little brush and a little bit of Kosas Cloud Set and go right up under. But today this will serve as that step. So just going everywhere where there might have been a little extra and pushing her in. At this point, she's gonna go in with powder bronzer. She uses one from Physicians Formula. I don't think I have the exact shade she uses, but I'll use mine. I've got the butter bronzer in the sculpting shade, and I'm just gonna go over all the contour places. So this is that layering setting kind of technique. It feels weird to do it and have my eyes done because I'm such a like face, eyes, lips person. But that's okay. This was really fun for me to kind of adopt a new way of doing things. The beauty of makeup is you could test it out for a day, and if it doesn't work for you, then just like don't do it again. Or maybe try it with different products or just adjust. My skin is just looking so matte, but there we are. We've set our cream bronzer with powder. Now we're gonna go in with powder blush. She said she really likes the L'Oreal Infallible blush in the Confident Pink shade, so that's what I've got here too. And this was the one step where she was like, a little goes a long way. You don't need to overuse this stuff. But this is a matte, very pigmented blush. As you can see, just gently rolling my e.l.f. blush brush in. I've got a lot of product. And we can just blend this in out here. And there really is something about matte blush that on top of an all-in-all matte look, you get a very flawless, very like Rose on Titanic kind of vibe with it all. Yes, that's such a pretty blush. It's kind of a warm pink. Hi, Pumpkin. You're a little purring girl. And she got a little white tongue and little white boots and gloves. Some of you guys were like, I didn't know a new cat was coming. And really, we weren't like seeking out another cat. Bub just fed the cat one night while the girls and I were at dance, and the cat became ours. I don't know that he realized that that was inevitably what would happen. But she just kept hanging around. Our initial thought was actually maybe she belongs to somebody. So we posted on Facebook like, hey, is this anyone's cat? 'Cause she's super friendly, and most stray cats that bop around this area, like, they're real skittish. She just seemed really comfortable around people, and nobody claimed her. Ended up feeding her for a while. Brought her in the garage when I think it was the remnants of Hurricane Helene were coming through, and we had like super heavy rain here for a couple days, and I'm like, I'm not gonna see her out there in that. She was in the garage for a while, and then I'm like, I'm taking her to the vet. I'm gonna get her checked out. At that point I knew I wanted her to be in with us. I just needed to make sure that she didn't have anything going on that could compromise the health of our, you know, healthy to indoor kitties that we currently have. So she got all vaccinated. She's scheduled to be spayed. She was checked for feline leukemia and heartworm. She was negative. Gave her a couple days buffer time, I guess, just being kind of in the garage solo. And I do think the kitties got to pick up on her scent, got to pick up on what was happening during that time, because she did scoot in a time or two like, hey. But no, this wasn't anything like that we'd been thinking about for a long time, like, oh, will we get another cat? It's just life happened. She chose us. And she's part of things here now, and they're still like kind of, you know, the other cats, they don't just come up to her, they kind of stalk from a distance and watch and stuff. But I would have to say maybe today, as opposed to even a few days ago, it's a little less intense. And it seems like when they race and chase, it's actually from a more playful place now, perhaps. But she's just so incredibly sweet, and we all just love her so much. Her personality is just 10 out of 10. But I've got that blush on there anyway. We're looking very matte, and you might think, okay, there's gonna come a highlight, right? There's no highlight in this look. Shelby Ann did not mess with a highlighter. What she did was lips and then this setting spray. Okay, so we will do a lip. Obviously you could do whatever kind of lip you want. I think I'll go kind of soft with it. I'm gonna use the Worth It Medium lip liner from L'Oreal, and maybe try pairing that with just the regular Worth It, the lighter shade of the lipstick. I just kind of wanted to keep with the vibe of what I saw her using in her video. Kind of mauve-y neutral. And then the lipstick looks like this. I like those two paired, because the slightly darker lip liner I think gives a little better definition, but then you got that creaminess from this, and then we should probably do a gloss on top. I'm going to use ColourPop So Juicy Plumping Glossy Lip Oil in Baby Panda. I do like this formula, but you got to be careful taking that applicator out. It's just going to be sheer on top. Pretty. Okay, watch out, kitten, if you're back there. We're spraying this. That's that. That's my full face. More is more makeup. Take off my headband. I've got a little bit of a roughly middle part with it today, but I would say the makeup looks good now all over. I'm very matte. I would have done some highlighter, but I'm sure the mindset is, if we're really talking staying power, that maybe this look isn't gonna go looking greasy later. She's a bridal makeup artist. Maybe she's used to thinking about the way things photograph also. So the biggest thing I can tell is on my under eye area, things already seem a little thick, like just the texture right in this area. I don't know if you can even tell, if the camera can pick up on it, but it just looks a little thick in that zone. Everywhere else on the face looks fine. I can really get behind the idea of doing the cream steps, layering up powder steps. The question is all the makeup in the under eye area as the day goes on going to start to look more lived in? Like, will natural warmth and oils and whatever my skin's producing, will that end up helping this look a little more one with the skin? Or given the fact that, like, you know, we got the heat on in the house, it's colder outside, there aren't as many environmental factors sort of breaking it in, so to speak, will it just keep looking cakier and cakier as the day rolls on? We will see. I'm going to check in at 3 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours, and 12 hours. But right now I would like to say thank you, Shelby Ann, for having the guts to, you know, go out on a limb and talk about a different technique, talk about doing things a little bit differently than the norm these days. You know, we've had all the clean girl makeup, we've had that whole trend happen, and to come out and say, hey, maybe you need to be putting on more makeup. It's a little food for thought. It's something to think about. And you can try it, and if it doesn't work for you, then don't do it again or try it differently with other products. But we'll just have to see as the day goes on what the takeaway is. As for right now, unless you're getting really close to looking at my under eye, you would have to say the skin looks really nice and really flawless. So alrighty friends, we'll see you soon. Love you. We're doing a staying power check-in here after 3 hours of wear, so it's 9 a.m. I'm feeling like things are looking really smooth and even. I just looked up close at the under eye area in the mirror and I felt like it looked a little dry, but not bad. I had to get pretty close to observe that. Very much still intact, still looking the way it started. Back for another staying power check-in. 3 more hours have passed. I feel like I'm seeing the lines in my forehead more than I typically would. Looking a little bit dewy up in there, which I was very matte and very powdered earlier. But the rest of the face is looking quite good. The eye makeup has stayed well, which that really wasn't what this was about, but I'm just noting that. The blush looks great still. Just a little more visible fine lines than I think I might normally have. Hey guys, we're looking at 9 hours of wear, and I've got to say, everything still feels really present on my face. I do feel a bit more shiny on my forehead. I do feel like I'm just seeing the lines in my forehead a little bit more. And I think the reason being is that there's a lot of product on there and it kind of has like nowhere to go. I think that if I would do this method again, I would blend out across that area with a sponge. That's where you can kind of maybe get away with putting a little excess on, because that's going to do some taking away. I just don't feel like that's something that's even visible to me on a normally applied makeup day, but today it is. All right, friends, we're checking out the look. Yes, I had to put on a short sleeve shirt. I was too hot. My hair is pulled back now in the tiniest little ponytail, but all in all, makeup is still present. I really feel like I've got a complete look, very much still going. Things are not broken down on my nose. Things are not as heavy as I thought they might look on the eyes. Forehead was really the main area where I felt like I saw the effects of a lot of makeup having been applied, but really, this is not so bad. I really see the advantage to the layering concept. I still think there are a lot of foundations where I would not need that amount of product and I would still have really good coverage. That's my take wearing it this way for a day. I would love to hear your experiences. Is this the way you normally apply makeup, or would you try it? What do you think? And I will see you all again very soon. I love you. Bye.